Good morning, everybody. I'm Rika Jean-Francois, as you just said, and I'm the Commissioner for Corporate Social Responsibility here at ITB. And I'm also a board member of IGLTA, which is the International Gay Lesbian Travel Association. I'm very happy that you are all here early in the morning, or, well, for some people it might be in the evening, to join us here to talk about the importance of this booming travel segment. So I'm sure there are also a lot of questions, so we will do our presentations first, and after that we will have time for questions and answers. So, so I just wanted to say hi, and I'm switching off the camera now, and I will give you my introduction. Okay, so let's start. No, that's here. Here we go. We talk about gay and lesbian tourism, latest in research, best practices, and case studies. Why does ITB work with about LGBT travel? We have a new motto, which is long live diversity. We are working with LGBT since 1997, but that was the first ITB Tom and Tour party we had as a satellite event, and it was not much more. But we became really the leading platform for LGBT tourism worldwide, and there are those milestones I just want to briefly present to you. We had single scattered LGBT exhibitors since 1999, and our first joint gay and lesbian booth was in 2003. But since 2010, we made it one of our official travel segments. So that means that every travel segment, like youth travel, best agers, adventure travel, needs a special infrastructure. And so we said, well, LGBT travel is nothing more or less than that. So we should really make an official segment for LGBT travel as well. And that, I think that was a good decision, because we also had our first ITB convention seminar, and that was very well attended, and there was a lot of interest. In 2010, we also became a member of IGLTA, the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association, and since January 2011, we started to have seminars worldwide because we had such a good response to our seminars. So we even had the first ever LGBT seminar in India. In October 2012, we did the first joint Pink Corner at ITB Asia, which was really another milestone. You know, what we said is that when we have gay and lesbian travel as a segment at ITB Berlin, we were asked, why do you do that? Some people even ask why we do sex tourism. We said, no, that doesn't have to do anything with it, because on the contrary, there is no more sex or less than in hetero travel as well. And we have signed, and IGLTA has also signed, the Code of Conduct Against Sexual Exploitation of Children. So I think this was also a very, very important signal to the world that we talk about a serious tourism segment. And for me, being responsible for our corporate social responsibility, it is part of the responsibility to stand up for human rights. And based on that understanding that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, we have to stand in for LGBT rights as well. So ITB is really helping to drive change and to bring LGBT travel out of the closet, because I believe that tourism industry can be a vehicle to help to create acceptance and to build bridges. To build bridges, I think, is the most important thing. So, yeah, because on the other hand, there are still travel warnings. A lot of LGBT tourists cannot feel safe. They have to hide their identity when traveling. And there are a lot of countries where you're scared to death when people know your sexual orientation. So, but these are also tourism destinations. So I think that we, as a tourism industry, we have a responsibility to work against that and to build bridges, as I said. Yeah, because we, as tourism leaders, can really advocate respect and speak out visibly. And ITB has a large platform. Since 2001, there are a lot of same-sex marriages accepted all around the world. But since 2012, there was another large number coming in of new countries, like Denmark in 2013. There's Brazil, France, Uruguay in 2013. Denmark was 2012, sorry. And England and Wales, 2014. And a lot of U.S. states and also Mexican states have legalized same-sex marriage. And the Pope even talked about tolerance also for LGBT people. I mean, there was a big movement in the last 2-3 years. So the tourism industry, if you have, maybe you know already, really, but has really already reacted to these changes. There's a new marriage tourism boom, increasing rainbow family. That means LGBT people with kids, who travel. There are other new marketing initiatives. There's a lot of diversity. Young gay lesbians not as keen as the elder target group. They don't want to book all gay holidays anymore, but they also want a special way of traveling. A lot of LGBT travelers now travel with their friends and allies. And, people are in general looking more for authentic experiences when traveling. So sustainable LGBT travel is also becoming an interesting travel segment in the segment. So what we understand and what we see is that the growing social acceptance is always followed by a growing marketing demand. So there are new products and vice versa as well. So since 2013, we really have the largest gay lesbian travel pavilion at ITB. It's a big pavilion. We had to move because we needed more space. We had last year, the first time, an ITB LGBT media event, which was also very well attended. We get invited to go to destinations to speak about LGBT travel with our ITB Academy. We have a strategic partnership with Vienna Tourism and Visit Berlin, where we also travel with them and talk about what they do as a city and what we do as ITB. And, we organize pink pavilions in cooperation with local partners, like we did in Brazil 2 times. This is not only us. There is a lot of international attention going on. We have the WTTC was really talking about the importance of this dynamic and influential travel segment. We have their numbers that in 2012, for instance, nearly 10% of growth for LGBT travel had occurred. That's faster growth than in the general tourism economy. And UNWTO has also reacted, and in partnership with IGLDA has conducted a very interesting global report on LGBT tourism. They reprinted it now because there's a big demand for it. So FACIT is that the tourism industry has recognized the value of the once marginalized segment as one of the most attractive and fastest growing niche markets in the world, which is also quite resistant to economic turbulences, like all niche products in general. I don't talk about the profile of tourists because you will hear more about it from our specialists who are here with me today. So, because not everybody has a best practice and not everybody has an effective marketing strategy. And in fact, that's why we're here now, to get the insight and to talk with Tom Roth, who is the president of community marketing in San Francisco, and to talk also with Thomas Bömkes, who is our partner at ITB and is the director of diversity UG in Munich. And they have a lot of interesting facts for you. So I will pass over to Tom, who is still awake late night from San Francisco, and who will give us some very interesting facts through his research that he did. So I'll pass over to Tom. Tom, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't see my slide. I'm now the presenter. Okay. Just waiting for my slides to appear. And there we go. Sorry for the delay there. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Tom Roth. I'm President of Community Marketing and Insights. We're based in San Francisco, but we really do operate all over the world. Moving this through. Sorry for a moment of technical difficulties, but my slides are not advancing. Try this. There we go. It's really an honor to partner with ITB and ITB Academy and bring this kind of information to the global travel industry. It is, as Rika was mentioning, such an important topic. And for ITB to take the lead globally has really been impressive and has been noticed by the travel industry around the world. I don't have a lot of time, but I do want to cover quite a lot. So my technique is to move a little bit more efficiently through my presentation and talk about quite a few different things, and then invite you to refer back to the slides afterwards. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about my company, because that in its own right, since we've been doing this since 1992, is quite a historical feat. LGBT Research, I want to highlight some of the key findings from our research. We've been doing studies since 1994. Everybody is interested in return on investment now, so that's going to be a little bit of a topic, how we can look at return on investment and make sure that our campaigns are successful. We can't really leave this conversation without talking a little bit about some of the inside activities you need to be doing. It's not all about marketing. Some of it is about being prepared. And then finally, some connections that we recommend for going forward before I turn it over to Thomas. So just a little bit about my company. Yes, we did start in 1992. Back in 1992, there were very, very few destinations and even fewer travel suppliers who were involved in the gay and lesbian market. A couple of the early ones to emerge were Holland, the Netherlands Board of Tourism, and Montreal. But since then, I'm thinking maybe 70, 80, even more destinations around the world are very engaged in the community. And the world has changed so much in these past 22 years. A lot of it has to do with education, which of course ITB is a big part of, and the other part of it is some of the research that's come out. So that's where we come in. We've been doing LGBT consumer research for over 20 years. We work through our panel, which is like a database of LGBT consumers. They are global representatives of the community, and when we do surveys, we do our pulse all around the world. We're a full-service research company focused specifically on the LGBT market. Some of the clients that we've worked with, many of the destinations across the USA, destinations across Canada, Denmark, Germany, Tourism Office of Japan, Spain, Stockholm, Switzerland. Many of the hotel groups and online travel agencies have been our clients over the years. We just finished a study for Chicago. And then beyond tourism, tourism is about half of our practice. The rest of our practice is a wide variety of pharmaceutical and financial and beverage and sporting. We've even done some work for the United States government. So we kind of have a broad perspective based on all of that insight work we've been doing. So as promised, I'm going to show you some slides and graphs. It's a lot to cover, and at the end of the presentation, I'm going to be displaying a link where you can actually download these reports for no charge and learn a lot more about the LGBT demographics. But what I think everybody needs to learn and understand first and foremost is that LGBT is not a singular market. I think it's often a mistake to say there's the Asian market and there's the women's market and there's the LGBT market or even the gay market. But really, consisting within LGBT are all other markets, if you think about it, because there are LGBT Asians, there are lesbians, women, there are LGBTs of all ethnicities and cultures and interests and travel passions. So the reason I like to say this is because there really is a place for everybody in the travel industry. You don't have to represent a city that's got a big gay neighborhood or lots of gay bars and feel like, you only have to have that kind of content in order to reach out, because many gays and lesbians are interested in adventure travel or cultural travel or everything else. So keep that in mind. There really is a place for everybody. Rika touched on this, and I want to just develop it a little bit more, why the LGBT community is creating such a buzz in the travel industry. Why is everybody thinking, how do we fit in? First of all, travel is very much a part of our cultural identity, and what I mean by that is it runs through our veins, so to speak. If you happen to go to a gay bar, you'll hear people talking about where they've been traveling or where they plan to go next. If you go to a cocktail reception, same thing. So talking about travel, sending pictures about travel, Facebook, social media about travel is really a big part of what makes us tick. And a lot of destinations are finally identifying the fact that if they can get the gays and lesbians to come, then everybody else will follow. And that really does work. We do have a perception of greater wealth and income. That's primarily because we live in urban areas. Many of us have a relationship, but we don't have kids. So we do have maybe more discretionary income or more to spend on travel. But be cautious of that, because there really are, like I said, gays and lesbians across the board, including their income level. The next point is that we're very targeted. We're affordable. We're easy to connect to through very dedicated media connections. We're brand loyal. We're destination loyal. If we've gone to the Canary Islands and we love it, we're going to come back and tell all our friends about the Canary Islands. Same with every destination. So the main marketing tool is, of course, to get people there, but once they're there, show them a great time so that they talk about it. And even though we're only 5% of the adult population, surveys are showing that really our spending habits in travel are nearly double that of the American general population and probably populations across the world. And like I said, we're mostly dual income without kids, but that is changing, and I'm going to touch on that in a couple minutes. So let's talk a little bit about our motivations, what we like when we travel. In terms of purchases over the past year, we gave a variety of options of products and services that gays and lesbians might want to purchase and ask if they purchased them in last year. You see a little bit of a difference between gay men in blue and lesbians in the red bar. But you can see that vacations or holidays of 5 nights or more is really the number 2 reason that we spend money. So the point here is that it's an important target market, because basically you've got a good percentage of the population, and a good percentage of that population is interested in travel. You really can't get a more targeted market. We also ask about kinds of travels. This is a little bit about psychographics. And you'll see that among men, urban core travel is more popular, and among lesbians, they're more interested in outdoor activities and family travel. Among all across the board, we're generally interested in warm weather. Many of us live in northern cities, or I guess we could say southern cities, since we're talking to a global audience. And they may be cooler than the destinations we want to go to for our holiday. And beach destinations are also very popular. And some places with culture and restaurants and good wine, good cuisine. These are some of the motivators that get us out the door and traveling. The other thing that's interesting is that LGBT-friendly, the reputation influences our purchases. And 2 of the most primary influencers are, the destination, that we go to a destination that has a reputation for being LGBT-friendly. And third down there, you see a star next to it, hotels. So we choose a hotel that we know to be LGBT-friendly. And you think about it, as Rika was mentioning, we are, or have been, and hopefully less and less, a marginalized segment of society. It's very new that destinations are actually genuinely welcoming us. And so we want to go to those destinations because we'll know we'll be able to relax and be ourselves. If many gays and lesbians are not comfortable being out or being themselves when they're home. And that's obviously very stressful, but it also makes it even more important that when we travel on vacation, we want to stay in a hotel that welcomes us, that doesn't have a problem giving us a double bed, that We're not ashamed to be holding hands of our partner, just like everybody else. So this concept of LGBT-friendly is very important, and I'm going to touch on some of the key ways to do that toward the end. It's really interesting, when we're talking about parents, even though it's a small but growing segment of the LGBT community, we found that about 20% of lesbian households have children living at home, and about 5 or 6% of gay male households have children living at home. And that number increases year after year as more and more couples are joining and creating families, and even joining and merging families. So LGBT family travel is interesting because there are many destinations that are already family welcoming, and they may be able to position themselves as LGBT family friendly. We found here that when given a choice, when a gay couple has no children, LGBT friendly is their main motivator. But once they have children, then child friendly becomes the main motivator, which makes a lot of sense because, of course, we want to make sure that children are safe, they're happy, they're comfortable. So the families become a little bit more mainstream, you could say, as we're choosing our destinations. The other thing that I want to talk about is marketing, because a lot of our clients initially will come to us and they'll say, oh, why would we need to market ourselves specifically to the LGBT community when we're already placing ads in mainstream newspapers or magazines? And the answer is yes. Of course, LGBT people read those magazines and see those newspapers and watch television. But the reality is once you actually create a dedicated LGBT campaign, meaning gay ads in gay media, basically, then we're far more likely to visit that destination because we feel that you're explicitly welcoming us and making us feel genuinely appreciated. So 69% of the respondents in the U.S. that we studied said they're more likely to visit a destination because the tourism office or Visitors Bureau does LGBT-dedicated outreach. So that means we vote with our wallets. We want to go to destinations that welcome us, and that makes a lot of sense too. But beyond that, 39% indicate they spend more when they travel to that destination, and 38% stay longer when they travel to that destination. So basically, the return on investment is very, very clear. Another thing I want to talk about is how important events are to the LGBT community. Most major cities now have some kind of pride event. Some cities have enormous pride events that maybe even span 2 weekends and a full week. But others maybe have a weekday or a weekend that's dedicated to pride. And the truth is that LGBTs travel to a different destination to experience those pride events. Now, it's interesting because many of us live in cities where we already have a pride event. For example, I live in San Francisco. But it's great to travel to a different city to experience their pride. And it's not that we just go there for the day. The average night stayed for traveling to an LGBT event is 4 nights. So we're not only traveling to experience pride, but we're spending quite a lot of time and therefore quite a lot of money when we travel for these events. So if you have a pride event in your destination, or if you're a hotel and you are working in a destination that's welcoming the gay community, then I really suggest that you partner with your pride organizers and help increase the number of inbound visitors. And there are a wide variety of other kinds of events, cultural events, bear community, leather community, professional associations, dance events, party events. But pride is really the primary event. But pride and other events are very important. Another important approach for reaching the LGBT community is through our charities. Most of us, when we think of a marketing plan, think of advertising and social media. We may think of direct mail. But a very important element of marketing to our community is a connection to our charities, our NGOs, our nonprofits. Because just about every gay or lesbian person is somehow involved with these charities or nonprofits, whether they're for social, political change, health issues. We're all connected. And when we see that a company or a destination supports those organizations, that gives us a very personal connection. It also demonstrates that that company or organization is genuine and authentic and not just trying to get our money. So media is also important. Most of the LGBTs that we surveyed feel very favorably about a destination or a company that is advertising in our media, and also, as I was mentioning, feels very favorable about companies or organizations that sponsor our charities. So these are two very important keys to a connection to the community. Now, this chart is, of course, way too much to talk about in much depth, but the point of it really is that there are segments within LGBT, and that's what I was talking about initially. Segments within LGBT means gay men are different than lesbians, because even in the mainstream world, men shop and purchase differently than women do. And because of that, our approaches need to be different for gay men and lesbians. We also find that media consumption, in other words, which magazines, newspapers, websites, and so forth do you visit, are different among the age groups within those segments. So what we need to do is look at which are our target markets and then decide which are the media that we need to be in order to reach those target markets. Some destinations are more specializing in the lesbian community, some are more specializing in gay men, some are more younger skewed, some are older skewed, some are trying to reach everybody, which is great. But it requires a dedicated approach. The other point I want to bring out here is that we often talk about gay and lesbian, or we talk about LGBT, but really are thinking gay and lesbian. And the reality is there are two other letters in that, and besides lesbian and gay, there's bisexual and transgender. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because when you're talking about LGBT, you really need to mean LGBT and broaden your approach to include organizations and connections that are welcoming or connecting the bisexual community and the transgender community. And there are even things you can do internally. For example, if you have a hotel, think about it. It's very difficult for someone in the transgender community to decide which restroom to use, and they may feel that it's very uncomfortable for them. So some of the basics of reaching out to the LGBT community means that you need to look at an internal assessment, walk around the hotel in the context of a gay man or a lesbian or a person of the transgender community, and walk in their shoes for a moment and see that your hotel really is genuinely welcoming and that it's a comfortable place. And Rika was mentioning same-sex couples. Weddings and engagements are a huge, new, emerging market for the LGBT community. Also, off of our download page, which I'll introduce in a couple minutes, is this full study that we completed last fall, dedicated explicitly to the tourism industry and how meeting planners and wedding planners can work best with same-sex couples who are planning their weddings, engagements, and, of course, honeymoons. So I'm going to sort of start to wind up here by talking a little bit about return on investment. We've been doing this since the early 90s, and back in the 90s it was enough for a company to kind of put a little rainbow flag on an ad and say, you know, we're in the gay market. They may dedicate money to advertising but not really care whether it's generating income. And now, though, with a more challenging economy, more and more companies are really looking at their return on investment. And there are a few ways to evaluate your return on investment. First of all is if you generate some press, which everybody should be doing. Press is a really important approach to connecting with the LGBT community. If you have a gay microsite, which you should, you can count the clicks, the visits to the gay microsite. A microsite, for those who don't know, is a chapter of your website that's dedicated to the LGBT community. It'll look and feel the same, but it's all about LGBT. Anecdotal, just your salespeople, maybe at a hotel, the receptionist, just mentioning that they see more and more gay couples checking in. You can use display ad codes and coupons that will always track. Self-identification technique is something I'm going to be talking about now, and then a baseline pre and post. I'll talk about that in a moment too. So in terms of self-identification techniques, there are a couple leaders who have done a great job with this. Kimpton Hotels is a hotel group in North America, and when you sign up for their loyalty program, you have an opportunity to select gay LGBT, along with wine or traveling with a pet or family travel, and that's how they can track. But you might say, oh, that's a small hotel chain. American Airlines, one of the larger airlines in the world, also does the same thing. People, when they sign up for the Advantage program, can select LGBT travel favorites, and because they've selected that, of course, American Airlines can track their business from then on. So be open to that. You can't know if you don't ask, and that's why these companies are starting to ask the question. I'm going to touch on this Philadelphia case study because I think it's a good way of highlighting the return on investment approach. Back in 2004, we did an initial baseline study for Philadelphia to find out how many gays and lesbians were visiting, and we found how much they were spending on hotel and how long they were visiting. And then we advised their ad agency, which rolled out a great campaign. And then after only 18 months, we did a follow-up study. And we found that for every dollar invested into LGBT marketing, Philadelphia brought back $153 return. So this is just one example of just about every destination. When they invest into the LGBT market, they do get a return. We also found that comparing gay and lesbian visitors to hotel visitors, to general market visitors in terms of hotel spending, general market visitors spent a typical $559 during a stay, but gay and lesbian visitors spent a total of $878 during a typical stay. We also found that ad awareness is important. Those who visited Philadelphia who were not aware of Philadelphia's gay ad campaign, maybe they saw ads in New York Times or somewhere else, spent an average of $743. But those who were aware of the ads, who felt genuinely welcome, again, stayed longer, spent more money. They spent $1,013 as an average stay. So these are just some examples of how you can track and understand return on investment. And this is just kind of a checklist. It's very important for you. I know across Europe and other countries there are legal protections for the LGBT community, but that doesn't always translate down to the staff on the ground. So it's important to have sensitivity training, that your hiring practices and benefits programs are equal, that you involve your LGBT employees, embrace them, make them ambassadors of your hotel or your destination, and participate in community involvement programs, the charities and so forth. It's a great way to connect, and also becoming members of the organizations like IGLTA. Now, of course, this terminology will be different in every country, every language. But in English, some of the terms that are good to use would be LGBT, gay, lesbian, partner, now increasingly husband, wife. The term marriage equality is being used more than the term same-sex marriage, because really it isn't same-sex marriage, it's just marriage. So the community really prefers marriage equality over specifying or calling out that it's same-sex marriage. Sexual orientation, gender identity. And then there are some top terms to avoid and terms to be cautious about. So be a little bit aware of terminology. I think you have to interpret this to your own language and confer with the LGBT community on the terminology that works best there. And then finishing up, just how do you stay connected? The IGLTA, Rika is a board member and has been very active in the global approach of IGLTA and their work to, again, connect the travel industry to LGBT travelers and training and conferences and so forth. It's very affordable to join. My feeling is that everybody who's involved in gay and lesbian travel should really be a member of IGLTA. For hotels, my company operates a program called Tag Approved. This is the travel advocacy group, and there's a checklist of best practices that you have to adhere to in order to be a member, and then you're part of the directory, you're part of the iPhone app, and so forth. We also have a conference every year. The next one will be in Las Vegas. Maybe a short trip for some and a long trip for others, but worth it for everybody. It's a great organization of the travel industry coming together to share best practices, and case studies. Now, I promise this, lgbtmarketresearch.com will take you directly to the page on our website where you can download our travel survey, you can download our community survey, you can download our same-sex marriage and engagement survey. All these reports are available for free download, and I really encourage you to study them and learn more about the LGBT market. And you can always contact us. Our website is www.cmi.info, or you have my email address. We're here to help everybody understand and better communicate with LGBTs. So I'm going to turn it over now to Thomas, and we will take questions and answers afterwards.
Yes, good morning also from my side here. After this really great statistics from Tom and the global overview from Rika, I want to give you some real examples of especially what Tom talked about before. A little bit to my person, I'm Thomas Bömkes. I'm the Managing Director of Diversity Tourism. We are based in Munich, Germany. We are a consulting and marketing agency specialized in gay tourism. We are the LGBT consultant for ITB Berlin, but we are also working for destinations like Vienna, Berlin, and in the U.S. we work for a lot of destinations there to work with them in the gay market. Our platform in the gay market is tomontour.com. This is a gay travel platform where you can find a gay city guide, gay-friendly hotels, gay events, reports. We are very big on Facebook as well for the German market, and we have pretty much new it's a blog on Tom on Tour. That brings me to my first destination, the USA. I think the U.S. is really one of the biggest, probably the biggest gay market, inbound and outbound. We are producing a gay-friendly USA guide for the German market every year. We are working with a lot of destinations in the U.S. from the West Coast to the East Coast, New York, California, Florida, Chicago, to work with them in the German market. And one of my first examples is also Philadelphia here. You heard this in Tom's presentation already. But what I really like here with Philadelphia is they really did a research before they went into the gay market and said, okay, what can we offer to their market? Are gay people really interested in coming to Philadelphia? And they did this, and then they did a product development. And I really like their slogan: "Keep your nightlife gay and your history straight." Because when people coming to Philadelphia, they enjoy really what they have there. The history. Philadelphia was the first capital of the U.S. They have a lot of history and culture, and that is what gay people want to have at first when they come to Philadelphia. But there's also a big gay scene, a gay nightlife, a big gay pride. They have the Equality Forum in Philadelphia, which makes it really interesting. And with all this together, they created their products. They find their marketing strategy and their key markets. They do a lot of things in the U.S., but also in the UK and in Germany. They're inviting gay media from around the world to present their city, and they do this in the B2B market and in the B2C market. So it's really important that you go directly to the consumer, but also going to trade fairs, working with media, working with travel agencies, tour operators, etc. My next example here is Key West. So Philadelphia was the urban part. Key West, this little island in southern Florida, is nearly the same. It's a little tolerant, liberal, open-minded city. They also created their product. So what you can expect when you come to Key West, it's a beach destination, of course. So you can pick a few things in town, and this is really authentic here, I think. So it's really what you can expect when you come to Key West, where you can enjoy a great gay beach vacation here. So my next example, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. That's also another destination in Florida. And what I want to show you here is that is what Tom said already. They have a gay microsite, and they include it in their regular website for St. Petersburg, Clearwater. Because you never know when people are interested in St. Petersburg, Clearwater, you don't know, are they gay, are they straight, or whatever, you don't know. And they treat gay people like everybody else, and they want to feel them as a regular client when they come to their destination. And that is what you can see here in this example. And Minneapolis, here we have the same-sex marriage. In the minute when when same-sex marriage became legal in Minnesota, Minneapolis really tried to create a product out of it, put it on their website, and market it to everybody, and equally, it's also on a microsite on their regular website here. And that is very good example of this one here for same-sex. Yeah, Pride events, you heard from Tom already. Pride events are really important in gay tourism. This year, I think next week, is the World Pride in Toronto. And Toronto and Ontario Tourism did a great job here. I think for 1 or 2 years, they promoted it worldwide as the biggest gay event. I think over 2 million people are expected for this event. And they present Toronto as a global, tolerant, and liberal city worldwide to everybody. And they're not doing it only in the gay market. They tell it everybody that they see that what you can expect when you come to Toronto. It's an open and tolerant city, and not only for gay people, it's for everybody. And that is the message here, I think, in Toronto. That brings me to another big event like the Gay Ski Weeks, like in Aspen here. Aspen is, I think, is the biggest gay ski week in the world every year in January. And what you see here on their website is that Facebook is very important for the gay community, especially for gay events. You really can stay in touch with this target group on Facebook, and it's so important for Aspen that it's at 1/3 of their website, on their homepage, is dedicated to Facebook here. So it's not really a little part, or maybe use a little bit of Facebook. No, Facebook is one of their most important things here to stay in touch with their community all year round, because it's also an event. It's only 1 week a year. That brings me to my next slide. I don't know if you can see that here, because I don't see it. No, sorry. I don't know. Hopefully you see it. It's another. I don't see it, but hopefully you see it. It's the Gay Ski Week in Sölden in Austria. In Austria, it's the biggest gay ski week in Europe. What you can see here is that the destination of Sölden, they work together with the community. They bring the big gay party labels from all over Europe to Sölden, like the OMG party from Prague, the sexy Cologne party from Cologne, or the party from Tel Aviv, Forever Tel Aviv, to Sölden. And they really work with the community to create a big gay ski event, and that shows the community that they're really welcomed here, and that it's with the community and not something, we just want to have your money. No, it's really an event for the community here, which is important. So that brings me to another example, the city of Stockholm, the capital of Scandinavia. They have a nice thing here on their website, when the date with Stockholm was a nice promotion. And they was also very authentic. There were really people from Stockholm, like gay or man or lesbian woman here, where you can talk to them, you can get in touch with them, and they want to work with their community, to work with other communities, to create relationships between different communities around the world. And that is really a nice promotion here with Stockholm did. And that brings me to my last example, Vienna. The city of Vienna, they did a market research, and they also find out that gay lesbian tourists to Vienna want the same like everybody else want when they come to Vienna. They want to enjoy the cultural side of Vienna, the music, the shopping experience, but also the gay life, the gay nightlife, and the gay things, the gay events Vienna has to offer. And they created, on the left-hand side, you see the real Vienna logo. On the other side, you see the gay logo. They really created a gay logo for this segment, and they promote it also to everybody and everywhere. And it's not secretly. It's really you can see it on their website. That's open. They promote it openly to everybody. So the conclusion is here: gay and lesbian tourists are everywhere, visible and unseen. So you never know if you have gay people or straight people in front. Even, for example, when they check in a hotel, even with 2 men checking in, you probably don't see there if they are gay or not. They can be brothers or relatives or colleagues or whatever it is. You just don't know. So you have to treat them like everybody else. The marketing strategy and the product development are most important. I think I showed this with the example of Philadelphia, that you can really become successful when you do your homework first. and it's a high profitable niche in global key markets, what you saw in Tom's presentation already. But probably you don't see at first what is an incoming and outbound market. For example, the U.S. is a big incoming and outbound market, but other markets, for example, like probably Argentina, Costa Rica, or Ecuador, are probably more incoming markets, inbound markets, where they have great gay products for this segment, but it's probably not so interesting as an outgoing market. And then we have other big outgoing markets, what is not so interesting to travel to, for example, China, Russia, or Arabian markets. They also have gay people there. And these people have to travel, and they have money because they don't have a gay infrastructure there. Or probably in Russia, they cannot live there really like we can live here in Western Europe or in the U.S. So, but they are also interesting markets, and I think some people forget those markets. But as an outbound market, it is really interesting, even if it's difficult to work in there. And yeah, what gay-friendly means to treat all customers equal, gay and straight, because you don't know who you is in front of you, and you don't have the right to decide if you are gay or not. You can just let the people like they are, and I think that is the most important thing here to say. So, when you want to stay in touch with us, you have our email addresses, and now we are happy to answer your questions.
Well, Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Thomas. I think this was very, very interesting input again. So far, I have one question. It says, you said, Tom, that 69% of the U.S. LGBT are more likely to visit a destination if it is gay-friendly. So the question is, how to start? Which are the first steps for a destination if they really want to work in the LGBT market?
Great question. And I think one of the first things to do is look internally. And the best way to do that is to get some of the local LGBT community leaders around a table. They may be in the travel industry, maybe they work at a hotel, maybe they work at an attraction. They don't even need to be in the travel industry, though. They could own a shop or work somewhere. But just to get them around a table and get their assessment about what's right and what's wrong about the destination from an LGBT visitor perspective. I think that's a really inexpensive and important way for a destination to get connected initially with the community. The other thing to ask them is, what are some of the events that are important for the LGBT community that could be leveraged for visitors? Pride is a great example. So if your city has Pride, the Pride representative should definitely be meeting with you as well. So that's one thing. We call that inreach before outreach. Inreach is just taking an assessment of the product and the service and making sure that you're ready. The other thing to do is to organize a press visit. This is a really important and, again, very affordable and cost-effective way for a destination to get the word out about their destination to the community. We worked with Montreal on one of their first LGBT press trips. This was back in the late 90s. We had 29 journalists come. There was such a great interest. And they traveled around, they visited Pride, they went to restaurants, and they just had an excellent time. And then for the next 2 or 3 months afterwards, you couldn't open a gay newspaper or magazine and not see a story about Montreal. It was very, very successful. So those are a couple things that you can do that are good first steps. I always like to recommend research. Research helps you identify where the best opportunities are. Of course, marketing is also research. You just throw some money out there and see what happens. But a more studied or educational approach is to do some research. And one other thing that I would recommend is training. Working with the hotels and the attractions to get them to understand the sensitivities and the differences among LGBT visitors, and make sure that they genuinely welcome them and that they show them a good time. Because you can do all the marketing in the world, but when the visitors show up, if they don't have a good time, that marketing was wasted. So those are hopefully a few good ideas, and if you like more, feel free to contact me.
Thank you, Tom. There is another question I just saw coming in. It's saying, I'd love to know if you think that Germany is already doing well in promoting itself as a gay-friendly destination. well, maybe you as an American citizen can give us a better answer than we can.
Oh, I'd love to hear your input, but from the American perspective, I would tell you that the GNTO has been active for years and years and years. I think our first meeting with them was back in the 90s, and so they've shown commitment, they've shown dedication, and they've really been consistent, which is very important in marketing, of course. So the GNTO is doing a good job. They do come and participate in LGBT tourism and marketing activities. They do place ads. They do look at research. So I think they're making all the right steps. And Germany, of course, has so many gay and gay-welcoming destinations that, like I was saying, there's a variety of LGBTs. Germany has a variety of destinations, so it's a great match. I think it's a great destination for LGBTs.
Thomas, what is
your
opinion?
Yes, maybe I can add something here for Germany. I think when you compare Germany with the U.S., it's also a very federal country, and we have really a lot to offer for the gay and lesbian market. And of course, the GNTO of Germany is doing a lot in other markets. But when you see other cities like we have Berlin, Munich, Frankfurt, Cologne, Hamburg, Stuttgart, Frankfurt, there are so many gay destinations, and I think for that, what we have to offer, Germany is not represented well in the gay world worldwide. When you compare this to other destinations doing like the UK or the US or even the city of Vienna, they are really doing much more in marketing than Germany is doing at the moment, I would say, from my perspective.
Yeah, but I think Berlin is doing very well. But this is a city, not for the whole country. Yeah.
Yes, that is the point. Yeah.
But it does.
That is what I want to say. We have much more to say than just Berlin. Berlin is the capital and very important, but Germany as a country has much more to offer. That is also what Tom say. We have much more, and I think people maybe don't see this in other parts of the world. Maybe when they think about Germany, they think about Berlin, the gay capital of Germany. That's great. Maybe think of Gay Oktoberfest in Munich because of the Lederhosen. That is very visible, but still about beyond that, we have much more to offer, and I think that is not really visible in other parts of the world yet.
Thank you. I have one more question because I think we're running out of time. You also said marketing through charity or non-profit organizations would be a good approach. How do people have to think about that? How can you really give an authentic profile? Should you just put some money into the organization, or what is the idea behind it?
Yeah, certainly. Putting some donations, consider it marketing. A lot of destinations, they're not philanthropists. They don't make donations to charities and NGOs, but I think you have to make the exception in the LGBT community because it's such an important part of how we connect with companies. So many of these organizations will hold, for example, a gala dinner, right? So they have a fundraising dinner to support the organization, and they get sponsors, and those sponsors have an opportunity to, maybe they do a live auction on the stage to auction off a trip, and so that's great marketing.
So you said that the LGBT community is very loyal, so once they see that they really mean what they say and they're not gay washing,
Yeah, exactly, authentic. And a good way to demonstrate authenticity is to genuinely engage with these organizations. And it doesn't just mean throwing money at them. You can work with them on these silent auction fundraising prizes. They may have a need for volunteers at an event or at their organization, and you can tell all your staff that, this week we're supporting you to take a day and go and volunteer at this organization. Anything like that means so much to the LGBT community because for centuries everybody ignored us or hated us. Now all of a sudden they want us, but they want us for our money. It's a very bad message if we just look like we're going after their dollars and that we aren't genuine or authentic. And that's a great connection to demonstrate that authenticity.
Thank you. I just saw one more question, which is very interesting. Does it make sense to let gays and lesbians travel in same groups, for instance, in round trips in Asia, or is it better to offer separate groups? So gay and lesbians travel together in Asia, or should they be included in mixed groups in Asia?
Well, the point is, give them the option. There's a wide variety. Some will feel far more comfortable traveling in a group, and there are group trips to Asia. What you can do is go on the Google or whatever your web browser is and search, gay travel to Thailand or gay travel to Japan or gay travel to China, and you'll probably see a list of operators that offer these kinds of trips. So they exist,
would it be
and
safe
I think that
in a mixed group?
Yeah, they'd be safe. Primarily, they'd be safe. I don't think that there would be any problem among the other people in the group on the tour, but some people feel more comfortable going to an unknown destination in the company of a group. Now, whether they go in a gay group or in a mixed group, that's really personal preference. And what we're finding is that older gays and lesbians who have faced a lot of discrimination in their lives are more likely to want to go to more gay destinations and stay more with gay groups and go to gay hotels. Younger people, however, and that's, of course, the future of our tourism industry, are far more integrated. They go to straight bars with their straight friends. Their straight friends come to gay bars with them. They don't need to stay in a gay hotel. They don't need to be in a gay group tour. They just want to know that they're going to be friendly and welcome. And that's a lot about communication with the operator.
I think
when I can add something. Safety from the country they travel to, of course. Thomas?
Yep.
Yes, but I can add something. I think the most important thing is that people really feel welcomed. Also, and it should be gay-friendly. When I know a group trip is gay-friendly and I'm welcome, that's totally fine for me, and that's necessary for everybody. Even if it's a gay group or a straight group, also the straight people know then, we have some gay people here in this group. That could be interesting for me. And I'm, as a gay man, not only go together with gay people. I have also straight people in my life, and I also, as a gay man, can enjoy to be in a group with straight people. So, but sometimes it's more interesting to have gay people only, like in gay ski weeks. That is really interesting to go with gay men only. But sometimes maybe on a cruise or on a group safari in Africa or also in Southern Asia, it's interesting to go with gay and straight people. So it just has to be gay friendly to everybody, and when this is clear that it doesn't matter if it's a gay only group or gay and straight group, I would say here.
Yeah, and how to be gay-friendly. I think that's what we already learned when we listened to the presentations. And but you can get more information, as we said, when you contact us. You can visit our seminars at Next ITB Berlin in 2015. We are very happy to welcome everybody to all the gay events or LGBT events at ITB 2015. And we will also have a booth in ITB Asia in Singapore this year. So I think there are a lot of opportunities to stay connected. And I want to thank everybody for being with us, the audience as well as the presenters. And I think it was a nice seminar, and I'm looking forward to meet you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you to all of you. Bye.